It's coming.
Let me know when.
I think you're good.
I think we're good now.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring our work session to order, our February 17th Warren County Board of Commissioners work session to order. We have Commissioner Baker and Commissioner Pierce. They're all on Zoom. We're all on Zoom, but not in attendance, but we'll make sure that we acknowledge them as we go forward. I'm going to go right into item number 2, which is department head reports. And the clerk to the board has a written report.
Did you want me to speak on it, or was the written report okay?
You say your computer? His computer went out. I think
On the
mine
way.
did. Okay. I think so. Let's see. No, I'm good. I'm back. Mr. Jones, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, all right, thank you. Commissioner Davis is having some problems with his computer right now.
Oh, okay, okay.
He'll be back up in a minute.
Got it.
All right, I think I'm back. All right. Okay, we're gonna go right ahead to the department head reports, which is a written report by the clerk to the board, Ms. Paula Pooley. Public Works, which is a written also report by Mr. Marshall Brothers. And we have an in-person report by the Economic Development report by Ms. Interim Director, Ms. Charlotte Duncan. Ms. Duncan, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So just a reminder again about our current office operations at Economic Development over at the Armory. We are still managing everything by appointment only for the most part, or over the phone, having some meetings in person and some virtually still. And I do still have some office support on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 1 from the National Caucus and Center on Black Aging. And this person is helping me with various tasks and related to office support, but also tourism, especially sales tax tracking and things like that. As far as new and existing industries go, as you know, we have the Waterline Extension Project moving on, connecting the water line or extending our water line into the Heritage Mulch property, which is creating 6 jobs. So that project is ongoing. continuing to work with the developer for the Chateau at the Lake project as that progress moves on. I have been working with a landowner and some housing development companies looking at a few sites here in the county. And then we have done a lot in the office, particularly in December and January, around site proposals for RFIs around our mega site Triangle North. We have, as you know, submitted a resolution, an MOU, to participate in North Carolina Commerce's Community Economic Recovery and Resiliency Initiative. And I've been working with Vance Granville on the Small Business Summit and meeting with Frontier Natural Gas around potential extension lines in the county.
Might have a Canaan problem.
You hear my security force going off.
Okay.
So
Mrs. Jones.
I'm going to pause there and let you read the rest on the paper if that's okay.
Sure. While she takes care of that, we're going to double back to Mr. Jones, County Manager, in reference to Public Works. Mr. Jones?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. I just wanted to remind you of the report submitted by our Public Works Director, Mr. Brothers. There is some great information in that report. He had a significant project at the landfill last year, and he provides you an update on that. And also he provides you some data on our waste and recycling tonnage at our different service centers. So I wanted to let you know that was in your report. And if you had any questions, just let us know after you were able to review that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. We're going to go to item number 4 and until our EDC director comes back. Is Ms. Formadoval on here? Or there's Charlotte. Charlotte, you want to?
I'm here. Sorry. I've got a great security squad, like I said.
Hey, you're doing good. So we're going to double back to you then, Charlotte, on item number 3.
Sure. Yeah. If you'll give me just a minute, I had some slides that I wanted to share with you to accompany this presentation. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And this is, sorry, we are on the S line, correct, Chair? Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to double check. So, yeah, so we wanted to.
I'm sorry, Charlotte.
Yes.
He was I'm sorry, I thought the chair was allowing you to finish your.
Oh, my
report.
apologies. I thought we had moved on to the
Are we on number 3?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I
That's my
thought.
understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So it's my fault. It's my dog's fault. I'm going to blame my dogs. So the county manager and I wanted to bring to you tonight an update. As you know, the state is moving forward on what we're calling what they're calling the S-Line initiative as part of the high-speed rail corridor project. And just a refresher there on the title screen, you should see a slide that shows you the 5 federally designated high-speed rail corridors in the country. And so we're looking particularly at the Southeast corridor that is going to run from Washington, D.C. through Virginia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and into Florida. So this is a partnership that the NCOT Rail Division has partnered with these states to get this corridor up and running. And you can see there on your screen a little closer what those lines are going to look like. And so a major initiative and focus for the state at this time is the Raleigh to Richmond initiative. And so the plan here is to restore passenger rail service between Raleigh and Richmond through Petersburg following the CSX rail line. So that line there that I have circled, that is basically what follows our Highway 1 corridor through Warren County. And that is the line that they're trying to get back up and running. As you know, it's not currently in use by CSX. And so it'll connect with the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transit, which owns the line into Warren County from Petersburg. So NCDOT has recently been the recipient of two major sources of funding for this project. The first one was from the US DOT, the Federal Railroad Administration Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements Program, which is the CRISI program, and they received a $47.5 million grant to acquire that corridor from CSX. So that was a big piece of the puzzle that's really gotten, I know we've been talking about high-speed rail for years, but getting that grant to acquire that right away has been a big piece of that puzzle. And so the other grant that they've received recently is from the FTA, the Federal Transit Authority. It was the Transit Oriented Development Grant for $900,000. I believe they asked for $1 million. They didn't quite get fully funded. And this is to plan for transit oriented development at 13 stations along the proposed passenger rail corridor between Sanford down in the south and Henderson. And the idea is they're going to work on connecting rural and urban communities in the Triangle region. So, and just to remind you, upon request from DOT, you have, and staff has submitted a resolution of support for the S-Line project for that CRISI grant where they got the $47.5 million. You passed that resolution of support some time ago. If you'll remember, the director of the rail division, Jason Orthner, came and spoke to you at a meeting to get that support from you. We also submitted a letter of support, I did as staff, for the Transit Oriented Development Grant, that almost $1 million grant that they got from the FTA in support of this project and this corridor development. So you can see the proposed stops here. The county manager and myself, we have had multiple meetings with DOT S-Line project staff in regard to any future plans for a stop in Warren County. And as of a meeting that we had on February 8th, it does not appear that DOT has any formal plan to locate a stop in Warren County as it stands right now. There are currently stops planned for every county on the new line as far as their planning goes so far, except for us. So planned stops proposed include Henderson, Franklinton, a few stops in Wake Forest, a few in Raleigh, a couple in Apex, and then one in Sanford. And so what you see here, we're about 74 miles from Petersburg. So if a stop were to go in Warren County, for example, it'd be 74 miles from Petersburg into North Carolina. And we'll just say if there was a stop in Norlina, for example, you can see the distance from Norlina to Henderson and then Henderson to Franklinton and between each stop, because I know one concern is this rail, passenger and freight, is supposed to travel at a certain speed. And when you have multiple stops, you know, it interrupts the speed. But as you can see, if we had a stop in Warren County, it really wouldn't be that much of an interruption along that line compared to what is currently being planned. So we have requested to be added to the scope of the that FTA Transit Oriented Development Grant, and county staff and state staff, we're currently assessing the best way to proceed with area planning opportunities while we await an answer from the FTA on if the scope of the grant can be included, or excuse me, grown to include a 14th station in planning in Warren County. And if the scope of the grant is increased, staff will bring a recommendation to you that the county make a financial commitment to support planning efforts for a station in Warren County, which we believe will have a major impact on us when this line develops. And the state has advised that the best way to proceed in planning is for Warren County to know exactly where we would want to have a station if a stop were to go here. And the last couple of things I want to mention, and then I'll open it up for questions. I do think it's worth noting that the line from Petersburg to Raleigh is the S line. There is at the top of your screen, you can see in Norlina where it branches off through Warren Plains and goes to the east into Weldon. And that is the SA line. And this is a freight rail. This is a line that they hope to also bring back into action. I don't know that they have any financial commitment to it yet, but this is part of our discussion. You know, if you're going to have that SA line coming from Weldon to merge onto the S line, it just makes sense for there to, again, be a stop for us in Warren County. And lastly, I wanted to show you, I've been working with James Cunningham over at the COG, asking him for some information. You know, when we talk about equity and transportation and being included in transportation plans for the state, I think it's important to note, these circles are not drawn to scale, but if you did a 45-minute drive time, a station and I just use Norlina for reference, but I mean, it has the possible benefit of our neighbors to the east of us and Northampton and Halifax, as well as our neighbors to the north in Brunswick and Mecklenburg and Southern Virginia. So if you look at a 45-minute drive time to a station in Norlina, regionally, you're looking at an average job earning of about $43.6 thousand a year. We are below the national average in that drive time. And our regional jobs in that range are below the national average and expected to decrease by 5 over the next 5 years. And so if you compare that as you move down the line to the 45-minute drive time, you know, for folks who might come into a station in Henderson or folks who might come into a station from Franklinton, you're seeing an increase in the average job I'm bringing this up as looking at the impact and the importance of a station in Warren County and trying to advocate for that. Could really be a meaningful thing for folks commuting out of the county into the Triangle, for example, or even honestly into Petersburg or Richmond. And the same for folks who maybe want to consider a lifestyle change. You know, post-COVID, folks might be thinking about migrating out of the city. And how can we attract them into Warren County with the development of the S line and having a train stop right here that they can hop on in the morning, go to their job in Raleigh, go to their job in Richmond or even DC. What that can do for us can really be great. And so hopefully we can advocate and get that stop here. And with that, I'll stop for questions.
Ms. Duncan,
Yes, sir.
you may or may not have an answer to this, but it's just something that came across my mind. Will the passenger side or the freight side have priority over this line? Because I know, I think some on the CSX line running up there, I think the freight have priority over that line, and it's a lot of delay in that. Has that been a discussion?
Vincent, I don't know if you've heard, I don't know that they've gotten that far in their planning. Everything that I've heard so far, it focuses on passenger rail. I know freight is a part of this and freight can run on that line, but I since I've been involved, I've heard a focus on passenger.
Right, and that's correct, Charlotte. I think the reason that they want to do the SA line is because it would allow them to move some freight off of this line to allow more access for the passenger rail. And so if it were to go through Warren County over to Halifax County, there's already an existing rail corridor along the I-95 corridor that gets them down to the ports in Virginia and then up and down the East Coast, you know, for freight. So.
Well, I guess, and that sounds good. I just really factor that question around. A lot of people may not understand that the interstate is not for passengers, really, it's for freight. That's what it was for, you know, military and the freight, so to speak. So with this line right here, it'll be more for freight to actually intensify the economic development along that line there. So how we should factor ourselves. So, but that's just a discussion, a thought that I had.
Right. Yeah, we want to take advantage of both, but the S line is definitely for passenger rail.
Passenger. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So again, we were just bringing this tonight as we continue our conversation, just and letting you know that there will most likely, if we can move forward in advocating for a for ourselves and getting some planning, there will most likely be a request in the future. We will need to put some funds toward the planning efforts for this in the future.
Unless any other commissioners got, oh, Mr. Jones?
Sure. And in the very near future,
Yeah.
we would
Yeah.
be coming to you. But Ms. Duncan is waiting to hear back from our NCDOT contacts on whether or not this grant that we're trying to become a part of will be approved or not. And so we'll be back with you as soon as we have an answer to that. Either we're going to have to do some more advocacy work, or we'll be just coming back for some financial commitment to do the planning. And also, we'd like to have some conversation with the town of Norlina as well, with your support.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think all of them need to be involved. I think this can benefit all of them, but that's just me. Any other commissioners got anything, comments, or anything before we move on?
So would it be beneficial for Warren County that we get letters of support from whether our DC representative or our NC representative legislation showing support for having a stop in Warren County? Is that needed at this point, or are we too far along to do that?
I have been in touch with Congressman Butterfield's office about this. They actually reached out both times for both the Christie grant and the TOD grant. They were asked to submit letters of support. And so the DC office actually reached out to get our thoughts and that kind of thing before they submitted. And we have been back in touch with them through this process. I do believe the Congressman, our U.S. Congressman Butterfield is planning to meet with DOT to get a handle on the project, and hopefully we'll be able to advocate for us. And I have actually been working on a grant application around some planning efforts for this and been in touch with them again, and as well as Representative Garrison's office. And so, and we probably should reach out to Ernestine Bazemore, I believe is our new Senate representative. So yes, Commissioner Pierce, I think for sure, I think we just need to wrap our head around an advocacy approach a little bit more once we hear back from the FTA, and then we know exactly how we need to advocate for ourselves.
Great. I think that's wonderful. Appreciate y'all's attentiveness to that. I think that's going to do one of the great things for Warren County. So anything else, commissioners? All right, thank you. We're going to move on to item number 4, which I've been informed that our clerk to the board is going to handle that part. So Ms. Paula Pulley, you have the floor.
Okay. Just wanted to give you an update on the Keep Warren County Beautiful Committee. We started actually last year working on getting certified through Keep America Beautiful. With COVID, some of those steps were not able to take place, but we are still working on that. Hope to have that complete in April. The committee will participate in NCDOT's litter sweep that's coming up. Letters are being sent to the Adopt a Highway participants throughout the county, local churches, civic groups, and the like, in an effort to get participation from different organizations, hoping to drum up as much participation as we can for that litter sweep. Also going to talk to the towns, all 3 of the towns, to see if they will participate as well. Debbie Formival has spoken to the Warren Record about doing a story about litter sweep, so hopefully that will drum up some interest as well. And we also plan to do some radio spots with WARR. And the committee is looking into various grant opportunities. We would like to hopefully get some grant funds that will help us with educational materials, things like that, to help our citizens fully understand what littering does and why we need to make sure that it stops. Also, one thought was to get the little trash bags that fit in cars, little car trash bags that we can distribute to citizens at different times during the, different events and things during the year. And the committee is looking into ways to get county employees involved in litter sweep as well, not just litter sweep, but on ongoing things. So it's not just, we're not only going to be cleaning up just at litter sweep. So.
Thank you, Clerk to the Board. Commissioners, y'all have anything else to add to that?
I know Charlotte is going to look into what Granville County is doing as far as the assessment for the budget item that we'll have further discussion on. But I think we have money in the budget right now for like county government celebration. And due to COVID, I seriously doubt, that we're going to have that event this year as well. So depending on if we can get grant funding, perfect. If not, can we use those dollars for signage so that we don't, neglect and say, okay, well, we're just going to hope that people are going to do it, put it in their face, make them aware kind of deal, along with something like that. So that's for the board's consideration as we wind up this calendar, this fiscal year, those additional funds that we may have due to not having the celebration. Okay.
Sounds great. I'm very concerned as I ride around our county and we see all the litter that's going on. And I would really definitely like to have a conversation with our sheriff and of course with our local judge and really basically finding folks for doing this. They are just trashing our county. I was riding down the road the other day and I saw somebody had put a sign out that says, "Do not litter. This is God's creation. Don't litter." And there are other citizens out there are really, really concerned about the trash and being a part of the association is going all over the state that we are actually having a problem with people just throwing their trash out. And some of this stuff that we're doing is great, but at the same time, there's ones out there we just gonna have to penalize for doing this, and it must be stopped. We really need to start basically working along with our sheriff. I know it's not so much that he can do, and he's doing the best he can, but really having a conversation and see how we can best help him and others to enforce it. That, hey, look, you just can't litter, and because it's really just messing up our county. So, I mean, that's just how I feel about it. So, going forward, I'd like to see that happen. And I believe that the sheriff will probably be open to some type of discussion like that. So, but anyway, moving right along. Great discussion on that. Thank you, Ms. Pulley.
Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else in reference to that, we're going to move on to item number 5. And that is the review of our hazard pay policy, which our Human Resource Director, Ms. Beverly Foster, and the county manager will give us an update on that. Mr. Jones, you have the floor, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. We wanted to bring this back before you. As you know, on December 7th, you all approved our hazard pay policy. And so we have taken a look at the policy, and part of that policy required us to bring recommendations back to you before we move forward with any sort of payout for hazard pay. And so we wanted to talk to you this evening about what that would look like and also offer a suggestion for an update to the policy as well, which we would bring everything back to you for your March 1st meeting. But for this evening, looking at the criteria for our hazard pay policy, everyone is not going to be eligible for hazard pay. That's the first thing. And so we wanted to be clear about that, we want people to be able to meet the criteria that we have outlined. Additionally, we had in our policy that the differential between a full-time and a part-time employee would be the part-time employees would get 25% of what the full-time employees were getting. And so initially that was based on, we were considering a higher amount. The amounts have been adjusted. And so we think it's appropriate that that increase, or that percentage difference between full-time and part-time, be increased to 50%. And we would bring that back to you, like I said, at March 1st. But right now we are looking at the employees who would be eligible based on our criteria. And I'll have Ms. Foster help me out with that information.
Good evening. So I wanted to let you guys know we had a total of 176 requests. 176 employees were recommended to receive this hazard pay, and we were able to, in our initial review of the request, approve about 130 of those recommendations. So that's about a 74% approval rate. So that's something we're super proud of. As far as the tiers, this is a 2-tier policy. In the first tier, full-time, we had about 76 people in there. Total part-time in tier 1, 19. Total full-time tier 2, 34 people, and total part-time tier 2 was 1 person. So those are our initial numbers from reviewing the requests that we did receive. And I'll turn it back over to Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Ms. Foster. And so if we were to look at the numbers that we have, and the amounts that we are recommending are flexible, but what we would propose to you all is that for the tier 1 employees, those are the employees that have the most exposure for COVID during the pandemic. And so those are the tier 1 employees. The tier 2 are those who have the lesser of a direct exposure, but still exposure possibilities. And so we're recommending a $1,200 one-time payout for the tier 1, which would be $600 for the tier 2 employees. And so that total ranges up to $128,000. There may be some adjustments based on some additional inclusion of employees or not, but we're looking at approximately $130,000 in costs for that one-time payout. And we do have available funding in our budget due to funds that we have saved this year. So at this point, we really just wanted to see if you all had any questions, and if there are not any major concerns, and we will come back to you on March 1st with these items for approval, an update to the policy, and then the recommendation for those employees to get the one-time payout.
Okay, commissioners, you've heard the request and the focal point of what they've come up with when it comes to the hazardous pay. Is there any questions or concerns, or you can express them to him at a later date, but he's looking to address these on our next meeting, which is in March.
So are there certain departments, like if they weren't open to the public? And I think there's very few departments that we were running that weren't open to the public. So if they weren't open to the public, they wouldn't be considered. Is that what the case? Was that one of the conditions? If you're not open to the public whatsoever, you're not to be considered.
Right. That is mostly the case. So for example, I will mention DSS, for example. They were closed to the public. However, the state identified approximately 6 to 8 people that they said were essential employees who had to go out, meet with clients in person. And so they were included because the state identified them as essential employees during this time.
So outside of, for instance, so outside of those 6 or whatever for DSS, if no other employees would be considered, or was it up to the director discretion to say, hey, this person could be considered?
Right. So they could have submitted folk outside of that, for example, but the HR manager and myself reviewed those to see if we were sort of following our policy, for example. But yes, we were trying to make sure that those folk who were working at home, working from home, this was not for them when we actually had employees who were every
In
day,
the office.
exactly, and not being protected from exposure in their job duties, for example. So,
Okay.
like our public safety personnel, sheriff's office, EMS, they had to go on calls without any idea of who they were responding to.
Okay, are we good with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move over to item number 6. And this is consider approval of a purchase of 3 vehicles for the sheriff's office at a total cost of $81,297, and authorize the county manager to execute the purchase agreement. And give you some background on this. We had some discussion. We did approve the sheriff to purchase or receive these vehicles during our last budget. And I think now that he has, I spoke with him and he's ready to purchase these. So he's asking us if we would go ahead and approve this. So unless Mr. Jones has something or whatever, we will just, this is going to be an action item for you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, because I think that there's some urgency on the sheriff's part that he wants to get some vehicles right now. I don't know the dynamics of that, but that is his request. And I think that we should honor it. But anyway, Mr. Jones, you want to add something?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I do appreciate that. I would just actually like to add a little bit more to the background. So yes, this was in the budget, but we actually had these vehicles being financed. And so, yes, they were in the budget, but financing these was the vehicle we intended to use. We put our vehicle purchases on hold until the first of the year because we were not certain of how the pandemic would affect our revenue and ability to take on payments for these. And so now we're at the point that we know that we have enough cash to be able to pay for these vehicles, and we're still going to finance the rest of our vehicles. And so we'll just take care of that from an administrative function. And we also have Major Branch on the line if you need some additional information, but these vehicles are being purchased off of a contract, and we wanted to put that before you this evening.
Okay. Well, if Major Branch took the time out to join our meeting tonight, I would definitely like to yield to him if he want to have something to say. Is he on there, Mr. Jones?
It looks like he is, but I don't see that he is being able to respond right now. So you can go ahead and move on if you feel comfortable with that.
If he chimes in, we'll just let him. So, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I will entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve agenda item, 6 as presented.
Second.
It's been properly motion by Commissioner Hunt, second by Commissioner Pierce, that we approve item number 6 as presented and requested. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Oh, I have one question. Are we financing these vehicles?
Right now, we have the ability to pay for these, but we will finance them administratively. So yes, when we finance, these vehicles will be a part of that.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
I see that the major has joined us, but what I'll do is we'll get back to you in just a minute. We have a motion on the floor and we're in the discussion. If y'all okay with it, I'll just let him go ahead and chime in right now. Major, you got something to say? I think he's on mute.
It's on mute.
Major, we can't hear you. Just tell the sheriff that we just gonna decline them about $10,000 to get you some audio there. And so he's going to come up with the rest. Are you off mute now? No, okay. So we'll get back to you, Major, when you get your audio together there. So ladies and gentlemen of the board, is there any further discussion on this? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, motion is carried. So Major, you got your audio right?
Still can't hear him. No. Instead of getting a new car, it needs to
This spouse say you need. Okay. All right. We'll see you to him once he get his audio right. Okay. We're gonna go to item number 7, which is the overview of Cardinal Innovations County Action Plan, and this is gonna be done by Interim DSS Director Ms. Emma Perry. She has the floor. I see she's still on mute.
She's muted too.
All right. Oh, there she is.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, Ms. Perry.
Yes.
Okay. So the memo pretty much is a response to Cardinal Innovations Action Plan and foster care investment. Mr. Jones, Commissioner Baker, Supervisor Winona Thomas, and myself, we all met with Cardinal's leadership. We addressed our concerns and had a great discussion. As part of that discussion, Cardinal Innovation, stated that they will follow up and send us a modified version of their action plan. We have yet to receive that action plan. And being that we haven't received that action plan in response to our concerns, my recommendation is that we not sign the agreement with Cardinal Innovation until we receive their modified plan.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Ms. Perry. So we just wanted to bring this to your attention. There has been coverage statewide about this issue with Cardinal Innovations. We are with a group of 20 counties that stretches from Mecklenburg County to Warren County. And the counties that are closer to Mecklenburg have had some issues with Cardinal Innovations and their service to individuals that are in foster care. And so Warren County has experienced some of those same things. And so we have checked with our surrounding counties, Franklin, Vance, and Warren, and Granville. And none of those counties have signed this revised agreement. It's called a subcapitation agreement. Well, we just want to make sure that you all were aware of it. And along with Ms. Perry's memo, there's also 2 articles that sort of explains this issue and why we have this before you now. But we just want to make sure we took the time to inform you. So when we bring the signed agreement to you for approval, that we have provided you with this background.
Ms. Perry,
Yes, sir.
can you just give me the Cliff Notes versions of why we shouldn't support it at this time?
So the biggest concern for us is adequate placement for our children in custody. Although we average about 5 children in custody, we do have 1 child who requires level 4 placement. That one particular child is now located in South Carolina, which put our workers in the field all day, sometimes late into the night. And that's because the lack of placements and providers. During this call with Cardinal Innovation, they stated they had added 250 new providers to the network. However, and they will send us a list of those providers. However, we have not received that list. So the biggest concern, we do appreciate the subcapitated payment that they're willing to send us for financial assistance, but the biggest concern is placement. For example, we only have DSSs, we are only able to certify and license level 1 placement. So for level 2 or higher, we must go outside of the county. And a lot of times that's 2 hours plus outside of Warren County. So, you know, we're looking for placements that's closer to us, even placements within the county, where we will not have so much stress on our workers and we can keep our children close to home.
I appreciate that, y'all staying on top of that. Any other Board of Commissioners having any concerns for about this with Ms. Perry? Ms. Baker, I know you sit on that board. Would you like to add anything? I'd like to yield anything to you if you want to.
I appreciate it, but she's explained it very well.
All right. Nothing else. Thanks, Ms. Perry, for joining us and explaining that to us.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
All right, we're gonna move right on to item number 8, Commissioners, and this is a update on online cashiering solutions for county customers and employees. This is going to be presented by the Assistant to the County Manager, Ms. Charlotte Duncan, and the IT Director, Mr. Charles Burwell. So, Charlotte?
Yes, thank you. Hold on to your seats. We're excited about this one. This is
Okay.
I'm coming. So the county manager's office and the finance department, IT, public utilities, HR, we've all been working together over the last year, but coming back together after, you know, we were able to regroup after the pandemic and some staff changes. And we have been working on our next steps in advancing and implementing our online payment solutions and our cashiering solutions, particularly around accepting credit cards in our offices for county customers, and also some advancing some online solutions for our employees. So if you'll remember, you adopted the online payments, credit card, and debit processing policy back in March of 2020 in preparation for the future implementation of these solutions. And so just as a note, IT, planning and zoning, and environmental health are also exploring some tech options for us to advance our online solutions for permitting. Currently, say you're a contractor or a builder or a property owner out of state and you want to do business with our planning and zoning department, we currently have no way for you to fill out your documentation online and submit your payment online for that, just as an example. So we are looking at those digital permitting solutions as well for use by the departments I've just named, as well as possibly public works, public utilities, and facility rentals. So just again, looking at our county goals, which include implementing online payments for departments that currently do not have online payments, as well as on-site credit card processing. We want to also increase our access to Munis. So that is our financial program that we use for department heads or designated employees in order to help facilitate their financial tracking process better and have access to their ledger. We want to improve data integrity across our employees, and we want to give our employees ownership over their data and greater transparency for payroll. All of these goals are wrapped up into to the work that we've been doing over the last year. And then additionally, with the addition of Ms. Foster, we are excited to look at moving our recruiting process for HR from totally paper-based into a virtual application process and onboarding for personnel and recruitment in hopes that that'll help not only make things more efficient on their end, but also reach our talent pool, a different kind of talent pool, folks that might be deterred by paper applications and want to do digital. And so in the memo that is provided to you, you will see a summary of the products that we're looking at. For the first table there is for online payments and the on-site credit card upgrades and the new modules there. So we are looking at upgrading the program that Public Utilities uses for water bill. And you can see the implementation fee, any conversion and migration fee there in your table. And so it gives you the total upfront cost, which is our one-time cost, in addition to the annual recurring maintenance fee. So we'll be looking at, out of the enterprise fund, the $16,344 as the one-time cost for that billing upgrade program. And that'll allow our folks in public utilities and our customers to make their payments online, which they can currently do, but it's not integrated with our financial system. And so it's going to advance that process a lot more for not just our customers, but also our staff. And then you'll see the cashiering programs there, and the that's for our credit card processing, the one annual cost there, and then the upfront cost. And citizen self-service is the module that we want to go with for the online payments. So, you rent the Armory, you can pay online, you pay your permitting online, you pay your library fees or your animal control citation online, that kind of thing. And then the next table below, you'll see the new modules for our improved finance, payroll, and human resources section. And so if you have any questions, Beverly is not still on. I was going to defer to her, but I can speak to these a little bit. But these are programs, one for recruitment for HR, but also the Ready Forms, the Content Manager. These are the things that are really going to take our staff into the 21st century, digitizing how we do things, how we handle our forms, the way we handle payroll, employees' ability to see their annual leave, to see their payroll, all of that stuff online. It's really going to advance that process for them. And so just in summary, you can see the total one-time cost to the general fund. This is to buy the new licenses, to get the new programs. You see that one-time cost to the general fund of just under $78,000, and then the annual cost at $19,500. And then we will have a cost to the enterprise fund for the utility billing, CIS, as they're the only department that's going to use that program. So it should also be noted that there are existing modules in the package that we currently pay for that will be replaced or canceled. So this is going to be a net cost that I can't give you quite at this time, but we will see some of that cost replacement there. And so we are not, we're not bringing this for you for approval tonight, but we are asking for your support as we move forward in pursuing the advancement of these online and cashiering solutions, as well as our other stuff around permitting, billing, and HR operations.
Board of Commissioners? Board of Commissioners. Any comments?
I think it's great that we're finally getting there. So is this going to be also used for like parks and recs and cooperative extensions, things like that as well?
Sure, yeah. So that's why the plan right now is to house this all in the finance budget, because the idea is that all departments will have access to this, right? So if you're at the rec complex and you're buying snacks at the concession booth, currently you have to pay in cash. Now you can pay with a card. Yeah, every department will have access to these programs. And so we'll have to work with them on how they want to use it, which fees they can pay for online and that kind of thing.
Mr. Jones, as much as it would be feasible, first of all, I agree with Commissioner Pierce. This has been a long time coming. We should have this, but I don't believe this should be a choice of use. I think there should be some type of policy surrounding this, that they must use this, because this speaks to the functionality of what we are trying to lead and we're trying to go when it comes to giving service to the citizens and the functionality of the county government within itself. Now, that's just my opinion, but I don't think that somebody would have the choice not to utilize it when I mean, a particular department.
Right. Understood. That's a point well stated. And so our team that's working on this, what we will do is just go back and make sure if there are services that can be brought online and allow for easier access for folk to be able to use, then we will do that. The point for this evening was just to, one, get your support that we're moving these things forward. And then two, we hope to also have a budget amendment for you at your next meeting that identifies savings that we have in our budget that will allow us to pay for these things and move them forward.
And in regards, I'm gonna say real quick, for the HR piece, hope we've done, comparison. For my last job, it was the first time that literally everything was digitized. I was just like, everything from the scanning of your social security card to your driver's license. It was like everything was just done digitally. I was like, okay. So definitely, hopefully it's something that we kind of priced out or whatever, and we're getting the best deal, but it's absolutely the way to go.
Yes, ma'am, we did. We looked at multiple vendors, each of us looking at different programs. And we are choosing to go with the Tyler products because it will be, one, we like the products themselves. We like the offerings of the programs, but also it will integrate with our financial system. And so it won't be a matter of exporting each night or that kind of thing. It should be an easy integration for us. And we won't have to pay extra for that either because it's the same company, the same product.
Right.
And Mr. Jones, and on the back side of that, back side or the front side of my comment was that if the county is going to invest this type of money in a program like this, then we should maximize its use. And that's why I say that if we don't want to have somebody that just don't want to deal with it and just opt out not to use it, and we basically wasted a lot of money to implement this. It's not a good thing.
Sure, we certainly understand. And so, like Ms. Duncan said, our financial system is a Munis system, which is a Tyler product. And so we are choosing to use that existing system with these options. I have worked in organizations before that have tried to change a financial system. It's one of the things that I don't want to be a part of. And so we are trying to use components that we know that work well with our financial system. And so your point is well made, and we will definitely make sure that every opportunity we have to use this, that it will be used, and we won't have people who will be able to say that they are choosing not to use it and offer, some modern service to our residents.
But it sounds like to me, have you identified departments that may not be able to use it?
No, but we haven't just made sure that we have gone through every service to see if there's potential there for them to use it. So we were looking at the high priority users first. But we can certainly make sure that we have gone through everything to make sure we're not missing anything.
Well, that would be my standpoint, because this is an increase to an internal budget. I think, given the numbers again, one-time cost, general fund of 77, and an annual cost of 19,000, right? So
Yes. And like I said, that is not quite, it will be a net cost once we look at the modules that we can take out that we're currently paying for. And see what I'm saying? So, and I need to get with finance to figure out that, plus our savings. So this one-time cost and the annual cost is not necessarily our net cost. It's just the sum for this advancement as I'm presenting. I hope that makes sense.
So basically, these numbers are going to be more defined when the next time that we see this in, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm okay with that. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, it's been a long day. I think we've done very well. We're at the conclusion of our work session. We've had our board retreat, and I think both meetings today has been very informative. Before we close out, I would just entertain any comments or concerns with the board that the board may have. Me and Mr. Jones have been in discussion. Of course, we know that we're going to have inclement weather on tomorrow. There might be another emergency declaration established in regards to the same. I know I wish that, I asked that all of our citizens stay safe and get prepared for the inclement weather that we may have tomorrow. I know we just came through a bad season, a bad couple of days with power outages here locally, and just hope everyone stays well. Commissioner Pierce, did I see that you wanted to say something? Or who was that?
No, I literally was going to say almost exactly the same thing in regards to everyone being safe, and let's just try to prepare ourselves And if we don't have to be on the road, let's not be on the road. But we absolutely want people to stay as safe as possible. Hopefully it's not as bad as it's projected to be, but in the event that it is, check on your neighbor, check on the elderly, check on your family to make sure everybody is okay.
Anyone else?
You too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if that's it, then I hereby declare that we are adjourned. Y'all stay safe and take care. Good job.
Good night.
Take
All
care.
right.
All right.